Our next step is going to be to compose our body paragraphs. These body paragraphs, ideally you'll have 3 of them, but it's okay if you have 2, that's fine. It's not a big deal. It could be a 4-paragraph essay, not a 5-paragraph essay. But the body paragraphs should be succinct, but they shouldn't be short, which is that you should have meaningful things to say without a lot of fluff in them. So you want to get to the point, and ideally, if you have already done all your planning properly, if you've already thought out your argument, if you've already thought out your perspective and how it relates to the other perspectives, and how your reasoning fits in with the 3 perspectives, it shouldn't be very difficult to write out all 3 body paragraphs succinctly. In fact, if you did your job right, you might actually have to start figuring out what to cut out of your body paragraphs. But in terms of writing the body paragraphs, it should be very similar to how you've been doing them in your language arts classes. Start each body paragraph with a topic sentence that establishes the main point, and then the rest of it should be expanding on your main point from the thesis into complete sentences, essentially. So you want to make sure that the topic sentence is explored in detail. Whatever concept you're talking about in your topic sentence is explored thoroughly in detail in that particular paragraph. And you want to make sure you have at least 4 to 5 sentences, and they should completely unpack your thesis in depth. You shouldn't need more than 4 to 6 sentences maybe. It's okay to have more. Just make sure it's not fluff. You shouldn't be repeating yourself again and again. You should not be trying to reword the same thing again and again. You want to make sure that you say what you have to say and you move on from there. So just assume that the reader is going to be intelligent, but that they're not going to tolerate you repeating yourself, essentially. So you want to say your point, lead to the next point, go to the next point, talk about how it relates to your perspective or the reasoning that you have, and then transition on into the next sentence. That's the idea here. Now, there's 2 strategies you can follow when you're composing your body paragraphs. So depending on how you wrote your thesis or what your perspective is, you could choose one or the other strategy. So if you chose a single reason to support your thesis, then each paragraph should consider how your reasoning applies to each of the perspectives. So for example, paragraph 1 will talk about how perspective 1 fits in with your reasoning. Paragraph 2 talks about how perspective 2 fits in or doesn't fit in with your perspective. Paragraph 3 talks about how perspective 3 fits in with your reasoning or doesn't fit in with your reasoning, right? And then that's strategy A, right, where you have one reason for your thesis, in your thesis. And then strategy B is multiple reasons. So if you have multiple reasons supporting your perspective, what you can do is address your reasons paragraph by paragraph. So paragraph 1 will talk about reason 1 and how it fits into perspective 1, but not into perspective 2, but kind of into perspective 3. And then paragraph 2 will do the same kind of thing, where it'll take reason number 2 and address perspective 1, 2, and 3 separately in that particular paragraph. So you can tie them up as you go. So generally with strategy A, you will tend to have a 5-paragraph essay, and generally with strategy B, if you have 2 reasons for supporting your thesis, you'll end up with a 4-paragraph essay. Either one is fine. Personally, I think strategy A is much easier to use because you have a single reason for your thesis, and it's very easy to relate a single reason to the 3 different perspectives rather than all 3 reasons to both perspectives. But it's entirely up to you in a case like this. So just depending on what topic shows up and what kind of perspectives they give you, it may make more sense to go with strategy A or with strategy B. And so here's kind of a summary for the 2 strategies. Keep in mind that in both of them, you're going to have an introduction and you're going to have a conclusion. Those 2 are essentially the same in both of them. The only thing that changes is the body paragraph. So the body paragraphs for strategy A are different than the body paragraphs of strategy B. In strategy A, each paragraph addresses a perspective from the prompt and how it ties into your reasoning. And in strategy B, each paragraph addresses one of the reasons that you use to support your thesis. And you want to make sure that you keep in mind exactly which strategy you're taking in a case like this. You don't want to mix the 2 up. You always want to focus on one strategy, either A or B.